Okay guys, so we are going to learn two-point perspective. We've already done our one-point review, so hopefully everybody is good and refreshed on how to use the vanishing point. So this is going to be two-point perspective. Okay. Label that. Again, I have the same materials. I've got a pencil, a clear ruler if you got it, an eraser. If you don't have a clear ruler or a ruler at all, you could use another straight edge like a folder, a book, or something else that you can use to help make a straight line. So, for 2 point, we are going to also start with our horizon line. So make sure you've got your ruler lined up nice and straight with your paper. I also have my paper turned in landscape style, so make sure you have that. Let's see if we can scoop that up just a little bit. Okay, so in 1 point perspective, we have one vanishing point. In 2 point perspective, we're going to have two vanishing points. So we're going to put one, generally they're off on opposite sides of the horizon line. So in 1 point, we would draw the front side of a box and then one other side, so, or the bottom. But this time in 2 point perspective, it is more or less we are drawing what appears to be the corner of our box closest to us, and then we see the other two sides fading away to both vanishing points. So what we need to start with is we're going to do 3 vertical lines just so we have 3 different boxes to use. So I'm going to make sure my ruler is straight with my page at the bottom, and I'm going to do a vertical line at the top and then or on the middle, and then I'm going to do another one that's got a little bit more space between here, and then I'm going to do one that is a little bit closer to my top one. That way we can kind of work through a couple different scenarios. Okay, so we're going to start with the middle one. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So we're going to take, just like as if we had a box here and doing 1 point perspective, I'm going to take these 2 corners to my vanishing point on this side. But then I'm also going to take it to this vanishing point on both sides. And it's going to look a little strange until we end it. So just have some faith. Okay, so there's my first shape. You should have something that looks like that. Okay, so now we've got this odd looking shape that just goes on forever and ever. And of course we need to end it. Well, we need to end it because we're going in between these 2 diagonal lines. We have a vertical line. We need to end this side with a vertical line. Again, making sure my ruler's lined up at the bottom. I'm going to do vertical line here, and you don't have to make the width match. You can make this side longer if you want, but I am making sure my ruler is lined up with my paper, and I do my box. So now it still may not quite feel like a box, but once we erase our extra diagonal lines that we no longer need, it's going to feel better. And then we also need to make sure we go back and erase the horizon line on the inside of our box. Do not erase it on the outside of our box. Okay? So compared to our review, just to kind of show you the difference, this was our one that we did in 1 point perspective. We see the front and the side. Okay? But this side, we just see the 2 sides, if that makes sense. Okay? So now we'll go ahead and move to the bottom. If you're not quite there yet, you can pause the video and wait until you're caught up. So I'm going to do the same steps. I'm going to take the top and bottom of this vertical line to both vanishing points. So now this looks even more strange than what it did before. But we're going to go ahead and end this one the same way. We've got 2 diagonal lines that go to the vanishing point. In between them is a vertical, so we're going to end it with a vertical. You can make it a different width from your top one. That's my preference, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and erase those extras, because once we add that top side, I think having too many lines go into the diagonal is going to make it seem even a little bit more weird, and then you may not know exactly where you need to erase after that. Okay. All right, so now the question is how do we do this top side? It's the lower eye level, so we still see the same sides, but we're going to see the top of it too. So a lot of people want to guess and think that they're going to take this corner to the vanishing point and then that corner to the vanishing point, but that doesn't solve our problem. We just have basically that diagonal line back where the one we just erased. So what we do is we're going to actually take the opposite corner to the opposite vanishing point. So we're going to take this one to here and this one to here, and then where they crisscross, that gives us where our back corner is. Okay? So if you drew this too close to that middle box, you may not get to see that back corner. But hopefully you got that correct. Okay, so again, they crisscross, and that gives us our back corner, and it gives us our top side of our box. So I go back and erase. Now remember, when you get, I mentioned this last year, but when you get confident enough in this perspective drawing, you probably don't have to take your lines all the way to the vanishing point so long as your ruler is always lined up there. You can always just take it just about where you need it to go, or maybe just a little bit past, so that you don't have to go back and try to elongate a line. But when you get confident enough, that'll be easier for you to do. But you always have to line your ruler up to the vanishing point. You always have to use a ruler. Okay? All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. However, this box will be closer to this one, so we won't see all of the bottom, but that's fine. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I'm going to take to both corners here, both corners to both vanishing points, just like we did. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and end it. And again, if I'm moving too fast, just pause the video. I'm always checking my ruler. Guys, my ruler is always, you may not always see it in the screen, but I check every time before I draw vertical lines. Because really, on 2-point, we don't have any more horizontal lines except for the horizon line. All the other ones we have are either just diagonal or vertical. So I'm always checking to make sure that I am lining my ruler up with my paper when I do vertical lines. Okay. So now I'm going to need to see the bottom. Even though I'm close enough to this box, I still need to see a part of the bottom that, that would be visible. So I'm going to, like in my last review, I talked about if you're ever not sure what corners to take to the vanishing point, the rule of thumb is that if you try to take a corner and it cuts directly into your shape, you don't want to take it. However, this bottom corner does not cut directly into its shape or another shape. There's space in between, so we will take it until it bumps into something. So I'm going to line my ruler up with my vanishing point, the opposite one, just like I had to do the opposite down here. I got to crisscross them to get them lined up to the correct angle. So I'm going to take it until it does. And then same thing over here. I'm going to take this one to the opposite vanishing point until it bumps into something else. So that's how you problem solve that kind of situation. That is the basics of two-point perspective. All those principles will apply to all sorts of different things, whether it's a building, a sidewalk, bricks, you know, whatever it is, the same rules will apply. So if I was going to add more details onto this side of the building, like windows or bricks or doors, all the tops and bottoms, since they would lead to this vanishing point. If I was going to add anything on this side, they would all lead to this vanishing point. Same thing. Now, the thing that would get a little bit tricky is when things start to lay flat on the ground. So if we had a sidewalk going here, the lines in the sidewalk, so the dividers, they would go to the opposite vanishing point. And the same thing here. If it's laying flat on the ground on this side, it would go to the opposite vanishing point. So, things to kind of keep in mind when we start our two-point perspective project. If you need to rewatch this video again, please do. If you need me to help you when you are in class, or if you've got questions when you are at home, just let me know, and I will make sure you also post a picture of your assignment on today's post.